Hello, everybody, and welcome to my podcast, Fear Fighter. I am your host, Shannan Mondor. Today's episode is a continuation of my series. You are not the only one. I was brought forth to do this series because during my healing from my addiction to alcohol, there were many times that the universe had brought me to silence. And during those times is when I learned so many things about myself, and I was guided. I was guided to talk openly about my past, my abuse, my addiction, and to speak my truth. From those moments of silence is when we learn, we grow, and then we teach and help others. And today I have a very, very special guest by the name of Terry Calibaba. Terry is an author of a brand new book, and it is called All About the Day. Terry has been an entrepreneur for over 40 years and is focused on financials, business, and life coaching. His passion is helping people enrich their life to take back control of their time and not to be a slave to this crazy world that we all live in. So I want to say thank you, Terry, for coming on my show today. How are you?
I'm good, Shannon. Thank you for having me.
Excellent. So this this podcast is all about when we are brought to our stillness. So I know that you've had a lot of shifts within your life, and please share with us what brought you to your stillness and tell us your little story here.
Okay, actually, I got two stories to tell you.
Excellent.
Yeah, because I'm pretty old and I got a lot of stories, right? So
Good.
The first one goes back to March of 2009. My wife was diagnosed with breast cancer back then. And at that time, it kind of stopped us in our tracks, of course. When you hear the big C word, right? It's kind of, oh my God, what's next, right?
Mhm.
And the doctors were all good and everything, and worked out fine. But at the end of the day, I mean, she had 3 surgeries. She had 5 treatments. She had 30 radiations, all that kind of, I call it the cancer shit show. So we went through that from March till the end of December of that year. And that year, it stopped us in our tracks, both of us. And we really had to sit down and assess our lives and saying, what's going on? At that time, I was 48 and Nancy was 46. So we were in our midlife, and our kids were all gone from home for a couple of years already. And we were kind of just enjoying being together. And all of a sudden, boom, we had this. So and it was a blessing in disguise when you really think about it, because I was high energy and thought I felt good until I didn't know I didn't feel good. And when Nancy got sick, we decided we got to change our lifestyle and assess where we were, right? So we took our current day and said, okay, what are we eating, what are we drinking, what are we doing, what's our stress levels, all this kind of thing. We had to assess it, right? And we did, and we had to make a lot of changes. And just by changing myself, I quit drinking alcohol, I quit drinking coffee, I quit drinking pop all the same day, and just decided to quit with a little help with my wife, of course, persuading me, because going through the cancer shit show, I kept drinking, and I was elevating my drinking because I was stressed, right? I went to every appointment with her. I supported her fine. But at home, when you get home, you have some drinks, and it was getting worse. So my neighbor had a birthday party one Saturday, and we started drinking about noon that day. And we drank all day till 10 at night. And it was just a long day. And when I got up the next morning, my wife said to me, I'm going to change my lifestyle. And if you're not going to come with me, you're out, I'm in, sort of thing, right? So I had to make a hard decision that day. And it took me about a second just to do it and say, hey, okay, I'll quit. Because I've tried to quit drinking many times before. And then I'd go back and have 1 beer, and then you go back to have 2, and then you go back to have 3, you just get worse again, right? So this time I finally had a mindset that said, okay, cancer's here, time for me to change my lifestyle and support Nancy changing her lifestyle. So we did it together, and it was really helpful by doing it together. And my daughter Whitney at the time was going to Vancouver for schooling for holistic nutrition. So she was helping us out on the food and the drinks and everything else. So that helped lots too, right? So we had lots of support through all the shit show, you could say. And
well, the good thing about that, Terry, is I just kind of look at, how the whole family involvement started to take place. and came into fruition. So that probably really bonded your family to come together.
Oh yeah, for sure it did. Yeah. So we're a pretty close family anyway, and it really made us closer.
It elevated you even higher.
Yeah. And you learn a lot of things when you're going through that too, right? It's you got to slow down. Like I was still am a high intense person, but way less than I used to be. A lot of shit doesn't matter anymore. So you just kind of just bluff it off. But yeah, we've made a lot of changes. My biggest one is slow down, and live in the moment and stuff way better than, thinking about the future all the time.
Right.
I was more of a future thinker than a past thinker, but I was always living in the future. And I missed probably, I bet you, a quarter of my life because I was thinking like that. I was thinking the other day, like that's a lot of wasted time, a lot of present missing because you're thinking about something else, right? So you gotta be present. That's really important. Yeah. So that was my first really slow down, change our lifestyle, change the way we lived, and a lot of things changed. And then the second one was October of 2017. I started having panic attacks. And I got up one morning, went down to my basement, did my workout, ran back upstairs, have a shower. And in the shower, I just, boom, I quit breathing. I thought, what the hell? So I jumped out, all soaking wet and full of soap, run to the bedroom, window to open the window. My heart was just beating like crazy, trying to get my breath. So I calmed down a little bit, got back in the shower, finished up, and I was really feeling off. I didn't know what the hell was going on with me, right? And my sister has a racing heart and all that. And it's, I probably got what she has or something or whatever. So then I had an appointment that morning, a coaching appointment at 9. It was about 7:45 by this time. And I came downstairs, I was getting ready and for my breakfast, and I didn't feel like eating. I felt really off and tired. And so I thought I'd go for a walk just down the block. So I got about halfway down the block and I was struggling to breathe and I couldn't breathe. So came back home, got upstairs, and the wife was still sleeping, and I laying on the floor saying, Nancy, I can't breathe. So I didn't know what the hell was going on, right? So she jumps up out of bed all freaky. So let's go downstairs. She sits me on the deck outside. It was fall, it was still nice. And my body was just starting to clamp up because I wasn't getting enough oxygen. I didn't know what was going on, right? My legs were sticking straight out, hard as a rock. So she didn't know what was going on. So she phoned 911. They came and assessed me and said I was okay. I was just having a panic attack. And I said, well, it's easy for you to say.
Yeah. So what was the panic attack brought on by, Terry?
That's the $1 million question. I don't really know. Probably all my suppressed shit I've been putting in my body for years. I've never released it, right?
Suppressed it, yeah.
Yeah, but now I meditate lots every morning. I journal. I do all that. So I have that for quite a few years, but meditation has saved my life. Actually, I think by meditating, because it calms me down to where I need to be. Right. So that was my first panic attack. The ambulance picked me up, took me to the hospital, assessed me for hours. Everything's fine. You just had a panic attack. Okay, go home. Just feeling off again. Went to bed that night. Got up the next day feeling tough. Couldn't do anything. I lost all my confidence. I couldn't bath by myself. I couldn't be by myself for more than a minute because Nancy had to be with me 24/7. And I had all kinds of confidence. Like, even going to get the mail, it was like weird. It was like new to me, I couldn't drive for weeks. I didn't know what the hell was going on. So anyway, I had another panic attack 2 days after that because you're thinking, okay, when's it going to happen again? Right. So you're in this loop, and I didn't know it was that bad, but then I had another one, same thing. Ambulance comes, picks me up, takes me to the hospital. So that's number 2. Number 3 episode was I had a doctor's appointment that morning at 11. At 8 o'clock, I'm laying on the floor with my paper bag trying to breathe. And my daughter was coming a couple hour trip that day. So Nancy said, you want to wait for her and go to the doctor, or you want to go to the hospital? I said, no, I'm going to wait and we'll go to the doctor all together. So Nancy threw me in the back seat and my daughter drove, and I'm sitting out the window panting like a dog trying to get my breath, right? And I'm clamping up again, freezing up. My lips are all froze. I can't talk, can't walk. Get to the doctor's office. They throw me in a wheelchair, wheel me into the doctor's office, and he starts kind of yelling at me, like just trying to break my mind, like my mind state, and say, okay, Terry, you're going to be okay. You're not going to die from this. And he's screaming at me. And I threw him right off guard, right? And he thought I was on drugs or something else or whatever. And I said, no, this is what I've been living like the last week or so. So he gave me a calm down pill, and I took that, and he wrote me a prescription out, and he said to Nancy, take him to the mental psych ward in the hospital. So off we went again to the hospital and talked to another doctor, assessed me, blah, blah, not give me another prescription. So I took it, but I never took any of the pills. I refused to. So, and then I had one more episode that me and Nancy and my son Britton took me to the hospital for the fourth time on her own. And by that time, I'm just exhausted by going to the hospital. And when I walked out of the door that day, I said, it just hit me like a brick. I said, okay, they can't help me. I got to help myself.
Right.
So I figured that out finally. And with Nancy's help and my daughters and my family help, and I hired a energy coach from Toronto, a lady I worked with for months, and she helped me get through some of my past traumatic events and some past lives we went into and all kinds of stuff. And I really like that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And it resonates with me. So I worked with her for months, and then I got feeling better. But it took me, I bet you, 6 months before I could almost feel like kind of normal again.
Mm-hmm.
And I sure learned a lot of compassion for people with mental issues now. Before it was like, oh, get over it. It can't be that bad, right?
Yeah, you kind of take it for granted, right? Or you until you experience mental illness.
Yeah.
My sister, she's bipolar, but mental illness runs in our family. And
Mhm.
until you're actually affiliated with it, you don't have that compassion, I don't think.
Yeah.
It's a totally different level. I think people do have compassion, but they just don't understand.
That's right. Yeah.
Mhm.
It's so
Mhm.
hard. And I call it the black hole. And if you're in this black hole, it just feels like you can't get out, right? You're just cycling in this hole and you just can't seem to get out. You want to get out so bad, but you can't, right?
Right. Yeah.
And that's how I felt, sir. Like no confidence, no energy, just felt like crap, right? And I don't know what it was caused from, but I just think I was a sweeper all my life. I swept everything under the carpet, and you finally start tripping on it eventually. And
It catches up to you for
yeah.
sure. Yeah.
So then I decided, oh, that's enough. I'm going to write a book about all this stuff. So
Right.
I'm trying to simplify the life in general. So we got 4 life zones, I call it. And the first one's health. And in health, we have our physical health, our mental health, our emotional health, and our spiritual health. So I got dive deep into those 4 categories. Then the next one's relationship. So relationships with ourselves, is the most important one.
Mm-hmm.
I never heard this term like for the first 45 years of my life is loving yourself. Like what? I've never heard that term, to love yourself, like we grew up in a place like that wasn't even talked about, right? So what was that? So this is all new to me. So I'm learning all this new things when we're, kind of detoxing and getting through the cancer stuff and then changing our life and getting through the panic attacks and everything. So, you just, you have to learn new things, right? And let go of the old stuff and our old beliefs that we have ingrained in us. And a lot of those aren't ours, right?
I got a question.
Yeah.
When you had brought up about loving yourself.
Yes.
How were you introduced to loving yourself?
To a book.
Process of that for you.
Yeah. Like we started reading books like Louise Hay, Wayne Dyer, Esther Hicks, all those types of things, right? And Louise Hay is a big one. My very first book I read about loving yourself.
Right. Yeah.
And she was good. And then we went to a conference with her and Wayne in the UK one year. So that was cool too. So getting back to the relationship part of the book is we got relationships with ourselves, relationship with others, our important family members that we want to be with. We got relationships with, our friends, our family, our society, and we also have relationships with our phones. And some people have more of a relationship with their phone than they do their spouse or,
absolutely.
They're always on the phone, right? So,
yeah.
So we got to kind of be aware of that kind of stuff. So, yeah, so that's relationships. Then the next zone is money and business. So the money part is I treat money like a game. So it's not so intense. So we make money by either selling our services and products to people, as entrepreneurs, or we can actually make money to say somebody's going to hire us for our time. So they pay us so much an hour or whatever, right? So there's two ways to make money, and try to make it as much fun as we can, right? And money can be a real problem if you don't have enough, or money can be a real problem if you have too much, even, you know. And money, everybody has their own beliefs about money. We're all brought up in different families, and we always maybe we're short of money, or we had enough money, or, you know, everybody has their own belief system wrapped around money. And I always ask people when I was in a financial planning, I said, when do you want to retire, and with how, and with when and how much, or something like that. And they always said, well, I want to be rich and I want to be young, but that doesn't work because you got to put numbers on them, right? So you want to say 55 and you want to have 5 million in the bank, or whatever the case may be, right? So you got to get specific with everything we do, right? So
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
So that was zone 3. And then the last zone of the book is time. And people, I ask people, my clients, so what do you do with your 24 hours in a day? And I'm always so busy. I'm so busy. I'm so busy. But what are you doing? So I get them to fill out a form, a 24-hour form. But when you get up in the morning and detail what you do with details, you know, for that 24 hours. And if that 24 hours is too much to do, I tell them to break it down into like 3 sections or 4 sections in a day, like 6 hours at a time or 8 hours at a time, because I don't want to overwhelm them because they're already overwhelmed.
Yeah.
So you want to slow them down, and you want to get people to do this exercise for a week, and then they can read it and actually realize how much time they're actually wasting on certain things, you know, that they don't realize they're actually doing. It could be social media.
Non-productive.
That's right. Most of it's social media, basically.
I was going to just say that, not because I even catch myself sometimes too, you know, looking at reels, and the next thing you know, it's a half hour later. That's ridiculous.
Exactly. You know, we can learn from that, but it assumes us after a while too, right? So we have to be careful. So those are the 4 life zones that I really focus on in my life, and it works good. If you can get those 4 life zones clicking for you and working, you're gonna have an enriched life. That's my whole thing, is the enriched life. So it's all about the day.
It's all about the day.
Yeah.
Enriched life, it's all about the day.
Yeah.
Terry, where can people purchase your book?
They can get it on Amazon.ca or Amazon.com. Yeah.
Okay.
Or they can even get a hold of me. I just go by my email, terrycalibaba@gmail.com, and people email me. And I've got some where I live in Moose Jaw here, and people come pick them up, or I drop them off, or they get them on Amazon, sort of thing.
Excellent. And just so the viewers know and the listeners know that all of Terry's information will be at the bottom of the notes of the podcast, Fear Fighter. So you have had quite the journey, Terry. So with everything that you've gone through, what is it that you feel that you've learned the most that you want to share with the audience?
Okay, it's in my book, and it says, let's talk. Like, right, you know, let's talk.
Okay.
When I started talking about my panic attacks to people, a lot of people said, me too. You know, I can't believe how many people have panic attacks. Probably 1 out of 2 people that I talk to have panic attacks, right?
Right. And they don't even know what they are, right?
No, like I had panic attacks all my life. Now, if I think back now to my teens and when I was raising my kids, and when things happen at different times, I had to go to the hospital or get picked up for whatever the reason, because I couldn't breathe, or I was seeing double, or I'm whacked out. It was all panic attacks. I didn't know it. Didn't have a clue.
Right.
Until the big one happened. And then I started waking up, right? And I was sitting in a clouded place, you could say, right? So it's about waking up. And so I needed some wake up calls. And, you know, Nancy's cancer was a wake up call for both of us, and my panic attacks were a wake up call for me. And when I start talking to other people, they say, me too. And they ask me the question, what did you learn from it? My thing is, slow down was one of my main ones. Slow down. And if I'm start dropping stuff in the kitchen, I say, okay, Terry, I got to talk to myself, slow down, you know, take your time, because you're thinking about what you're going to do, but you're also doing something with your subconscious, right?
Yeah. Self-awareness, right?
That's so important. The other one is live in the moment, you know, and like I said before, I live in the future so much that I had to dial it in. I got to reel it in, right? Reel it in and say, be right here, right now. And my grandkids have taught me that a lot, because if I'm playing with my grandkids, if I'm playing with them with their crystals or rocks or whatever we're playing in the moment. And that's so important, right? And they've taught me lots, check in with myself several times a day. So even after this interview with you, Shannan, I'll sit here and I'll say, okay, how did that go? How do I feel? Did I get sucked energy? Did I give energy? Did I get energy? Like, it's all those types of things. You got to assess yourself, right? So if you're in a relationship with somebody and you always feel drained after, well, that's a sign, right? That you have to change that relationship, or maybe get out of it, right? Whatever that is, right? Other things is don't sweep stuff under the rug so much,
Right.
feel your feelings, because we were taught not to feel our feelings. We were taught to shut up, go in the corner, right?
That's so huge.
It's huge. So everything we were basically taught as a kid, throw it out the door
Yeah.
and start fresh.
Yeah. I'm so there with you. And as you're talking, I'm like, yeah. Like I've got goosebumps. I'm like, yeah, like you're me talking, and I'm like, we are the exact same people. Like I just can't even believe it. It's just, yeah.
Like
Again,
all our beliefs,
there.
that we have in our head, and we've been told by either our parents, the government, the school system, all that shit. It's throw it out the door.
Yeah.
Relearn and learn new stuff, right? And then my last one was, like I said before, have compassion for myself and others, so before, like I said, you get kind of cocky, just get over it. Like, you can't be that bad. I've got over things. Why can't you? Right. But it's, you really have to understand these people, or try to help them understand, and they're going through some tough times. Right. And so so that's what I've learned. And I try to practice it, most days. Some days you get off track a little bit, but I mean, and I'm a very organized person, and I keep track of my time, what I'm doing every week, and my appointments and things like that. And then I'll do a positive focus at the end of the week, and say, on Friday, I usually do afternoon, when I get my week done, get all my positive stuff done that I've done. And then I plan my next week to what I didn't finish, maybe, or, and be organized, because time is precious, and that's all we really have on this earth is time, that you can't get it back once it's gone, right? So
exactly. Yeah. And what is the one most important thing that you want others to know out of everything that you've learned? What is it that you want to express to others?
Just to have more love for yourself, because it's Valentine's Day today. We're doing this interview on February 14th. It's all about the love, right?
Yeah.
So my first book is all about the day. My second book might be It's All About the Love, because it is about the love, right? If you can feel the love in yourself and connect with your higher source and have that love in you, then everybody else around you will love you, and you'll love them, right? So it's about connecting, to that higher source.
And I didn't have love for myself until I really started to have self-awareness of who I really, really, really was.
Yeah.
Then that was when things totally changed for me. And then once I loved myself, then that was when I brought all the love in from everybody around me.
Yeah.
So yeah, that is so important. So where are you now, Terry? Where are you now in life?
I'm halfway through my journey. My goal is to live to 125.
Oh no, just a second. I've got Siri talking here. Okay, she was going to tell me where you are, Terry.
Oh, I'm in
Siri on my phone.
Okay. Anywhere, where am I? Like, my big goal for years and years, I want to live to 125. So I'm going to be 62 and a half on March 15th. So I'll be
62 and a half.
right at the peak, and then I'll be over the hill after that, right? But in most cases, people my age are retiring, and a lot of them hated their jobs for 30 years. Now they're on a pension, and a lot of them people get sick and die. And I don't want to be one of those guys. I want to be working, helping people, doing things. I'll never want to retire, really. And I want to slow down and do things I want to do. But, I want to just live in the moment and do things that I want to do throughout my day and have control of my time, basically,
I don't know if you've seen on my Facebook, I had posted a couple of days ago that your age is not dependent upon your the number. It's
Right.
it's the energy that you hold inside. And
Yeah.
when I seen when and I had posted that, that is so true, because so
Hmm.
many people focus on their age. Oh my gosh, I'm this
Oh,
age or that age, and I'm going to
yeah.
be 54 March 7th, right? And I'm
Hmm.
like, I feel so far from 54. And really, you know
Yeah.
what is 54? What is 62 and a half coming up? You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like, I feel better now than I did ever in my teens and in my 20s
Yeah.
and 30s and my 40s, because I have totally released everything toxic from my life. You know,
Yeah.
people will ask me, how old are you? And I'll be like, I'll be 54. And they're like, holy crap, are you kidding me?
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
it's so true. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's all about the energy that you hold within yourself.
Sure.
Mm.
And I think if we feel good and look good, I mean, we perceive that, and people see us, and
Yes.
when you do tell them their ages, oh, I used to say, people, well, I got 4 kids, I was 26 years old, I got 4 kids. What? Now I got 10 grandkids, and
Yeah,
I've
now
been,
they're what?
yeah, and I've been grandparenting for 15 years almost, right? So I mean, it's been a great fun journey with grandkids. Like, it's
Oh,
just been a
excellent.
real blessing for both me and Nancy, and we just love them up, right? So
Yeah, and now you're healthy and you're
yeah,
happy and you're thriving, and that's what counts.
yeah,
Good for
that's
you,
great.
Terry. Good for
Yeah.
you. So, is there
So
any last words that you would like to say to our audience out there?
uh
Final words.
yeah, just like love yourself, live in the moment, slow down, don't get wrapped up in that rat race out there. And check in with yourself lots during the day, how you're feeling, right? Because
Mm,
we have so many thoughts. We have 60, 70,000 thoughts a day, right? And a
mhm.
lot of them are negative. So we try to gotta, get off that negative. Don't watch the news shit. Don't do that. Like, just stay in your own little bubble sometimes, and learn what you want to learn to feed your soul.
Speaking of the news, I've got a birthday coming up regarding the news.
Uh,
When Russia bombed the Ukraine,
yeah,
it was probably about 3 or 4 days after that, my husband would come home and watch the news at lunchtime, and he would
right.
just be stressed. He'd be like, oh,
Yeah.
oh my goodness. And finally, I was like, you know what? I'm done watching the news. So that
Hmm.
was near the end of February. So I
Good.
am almost at my 1 year mark of
Yeah.
absolutely no news. And I'll tell you, what a change. Uh,
Oh, yeah.
I can't even believe it. And you know what? I can't control everything that's happening out there. So
No,
why would I put that into my mind or whatever else, right? And
right.
negativity. And I'll tell you, it has made a huge,
That's
huge
great.
difference with me. And
Yeah.
I don't plan on listening to the news again. I don't care. I
No,
really don't care. Yeah.
put on a podcast, right? Fighting
Yeah, I'm
spirit.
I'm too busy doing a podcast and
Right.
writing and
Yeah.
everything else. I don't need to listen to the news. So yeah,
Right.
but
You
that
just
was my
gotta
little
get out.
tidbit about the negativity within our
Yeah,
world.
it's good. And the
Absolutely.
only thing we can control, Shannon, is our thoughts as much as we can, right?
Absolutely.
And how it affects us. So, if something affects us, like the news, just it is affecting you
Mhm.
negatively, just don't do it. Like, shut it off. You're not gonna miss anything at
No,
all.
I'll tell you, I've missed zero. The only
Yeah,
thing I've brought in is way more happiness, joy,
exactly. Yeah.
for sure. So Terry, I want to thank you for coming on my podcast, and this has been absolutely wonderful.
Thank
Um,
you.
and I hope all the success with you selling your book, but it's going to be out there on social media and everything now too. So congratulations on that.
Yeah,
Writing a book is such a huge thing. I know, because I did it, and it's the most freeing thing
right.
ever. So congratulations on that for sure.
Thank
So
you.
thank you, Terry.
And it's great therapy for anybody that writes a book or tells your story. Even if you don't have a book, just tell your story to somebody, because
Yes,
it will affect them, you know,
yes,
and everybody has a story. And it's
absolutely.
very important to get your story out, because you have to release that. You can't die with the music inside you, you
Right.
know. So,
Yeah, and that was the whole purpose of me doing this series, and I want to thank you for coming on and sharing.
and thanks for having me, Shannon. I appreciate the opportunity,
You're
and good
welcome.
luck with everything in your future too.
Thank you. Thank you. It's getting exciting.
All righty.
Okay, chat later. Thank you so
Hey,
much.
take care. Bye now.
Bye.